All right. So today in this lesson, what we're going to be talking about is your coaching business and why it isn't broken. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I've been doing this for almost 13 years now, and it doesn't matter if it's you're just starting out or you have a eight-figure business. If you have a coaching, consulting, service-based business, almost all of those businesses have some sort of ceiling. And everyone I see runs into it. And today we're going to talk about why coaching businesses have this ceiling, and more importantly, I'm going to walk you through how to combat that. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I want to start off, and I want to start off by asking you guys something. And this question is just for you to think about in your head. And the thing I want you to think about is how many times this year, right? We're still early in the year in Q1 or starting Q2. And I want you to think about how many times have you Googled something this year, like, for instance, let's say how to get more clients, why isn't my webinar converting, why isn't my business growing, something along those lines, right? And those 2 a.m. searches, right? Is it 5 times? Is it a dozen of times, right? How many times does that happen? And regardless of what you're searching and how many times you search for it, how many of you, as you're searching, right? Every result you find is more of the same. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's all the general information, all the stuff you've heard a million times before. Post more, be more consistent, build your personal brand, niche down, right? All those things, right? You know what I'm talking about? Get on more sales calls. And you sat to yourself there thinking, I've done all that, right? I've every single one of those things I've done. So you end up closing your search and you open up Instagram, right? So you can start doom scrolling. And as soon as you open up Instagram, you see it. You say, Coach, what do I see? Well, what you see is another coach, right? Another consultant, another agency, another, right? One of your peers posting a revenue screenshot of a 47K month, a 147K month, a 247K month. And when that happens, you feel that thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You say that thing. Yeah, it's that it's not quite jealousy, right? It's something more. If you've ever felt that in your coaching business and it left you kind of wondering, why is it that all of my other peers seem to be not being unaffected by this, having these, you know, large months? Why are they having this? And yet I'm stuck. I'm capped. Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover today. So let's get started.
I took what you said, totally revamped what I was doing. Didn't have to get on a sales call. That was my first time ever, so that was super cool.
I paid him about a year ago to teach me one strategy, how to close without a sales call, phoneless selling. And since then, everything has just taken off. We did 65K in a week, and me and my business partner are now pacing between $100 and $150,000 for this month, which is just insanity.
Other coaches that are talking about phoneless sales, but I look at their business and I'm like, do I really want to have this business? They're on social media all the time. They're doing training after training. They have 5,000 courses. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so you're proving that you don't have to have that business model. You don't have to do sales calls. You can really be leveraged.
And I am coming off of my highest month ever. Sales in both contracted and cash collected. So specifically, I added over $100,000 in new sales. I didn't have to go through all these one-on-one calls. I didn't have to do any of that, which takes a lot of time. You know, a lot of people say no. I didn't do any of that. No phone calls. We sold to everyone in a group. Boom.
I used it. I made $50,000 in less than 24 hours. I've never made that much money in a day. I mean, I've had very successful businesses, but I've never made that much so easily in a day.
You follow his steps and you do exactly what he tells you to do and how he tells you to do it, and success.
So if you've experienced that, right, I want to tell you something right now, right? Because you're probably thinking, all right, what if what if your coaching business isn't broken? What if the coaching business is doing exactly what it's designed to do? Think about that for a second. What if this coaching business isn't broken? What if it's just doing exactly what it was designed to do? You say, Coach, what do you mean by that? What if the income plateau, what if the exhaustion, that feeling that you're spinning faster and faster and faster, right? You're running on the treadmill faster, but you ain't going nowhere. What if that's not a failure? What if that's just the building performing exactly how it was built? Because let me tell you, right, for you to understand this, we got to start with how most coaching businesses get built, right? Do you know how most businesses get built? Let's talk about it. Because it's almost the same exact story every time. And it starts of a place of strength, is how these businesses start out. Like it usually starts off with you being genuinely good at producing a result, right? So you obviously your business helps people accomplish something, and you're genuinely good at that. So you could be a therapist, you could be a trainer, you could be a consultant, a teacher, or whatever, right? And so you've seen people transform and change because of you. And you had this thought. You were sitting there, you was thinking to yourself, you said, yourself said, hmm. And you said, I think I could build something around this, right? And that it would be something that's mine because I know how to do this thing. I've helped a lot of people do this thing. Like there's something here. And so because you had that thought, you then do the next step, which is what any intelligent person would do. You went and you looked for instructions, right? You say, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I make this become a thing? And so when you go and look up how to do this thing, usually you find programs, you find coaches, you find courses, right? And all of those people, all those programs, all those coaches, all those courses, right? They all laid out this blueprint of here's how you build a coaching business. And so you invested, you followed the steps, and the steps almost always. Now, I don't care if you paid 997, 1,997, 19,997, right? Because you know all the Puru's courses and stuff got to end in 9-7, right? Right? If so, it doesn't matter which one you bought, right? Which one you did. All of them, all of the advice sounded something like this: post content, build an audience, get on sales calls, deliver sessions, get testimonials, raise your prices, repeat. Y'all stop me when I'm lying now, right? Let me see in the chat. How many of y'all like that's essentially if you were to break down that course, that mentorship, that coach, whatever you bought when you were starting to build this coaching business, that's essentially the advice. Create content, build an audience, get on sales calls, deliver coaching sessions, get testimonials, raise your price, repeat. Right? And so you did all that. You posted, you showed up, you got on the calls, you delivered real results for real people. But then somewhere, and usually for most people, right, especially if you're starting off, you start seeing this exploding growth for the first year. But usually around year one, year two, max year three, just depending on when you entered the game, what else was going on in the market you're in, something starts happening. And what starts happening is the harder you push, the less happens. Right? I'm speaking to somebody right now. Somebody's like, that's me. We're doing the exact same thing that we was doing last year that was working like gangbusters for us. Matter of fact, we've doubled down. We're doing webinars and challenges weekly, whatever the thing is you're doing. But it seems like we're just getting fewer and fewer results, right? And you're like, well, why is that happening? Because we're doing more of everything, but the needle's stuck. Now, this is would be a problem for any business, but this is specifically a problem for a lot of my coaches and consultants. Why? Especially in the business space. Why? Well, if you were a plumber and your business couldn't find clients, that would be a marketing problem. And while that marketing problem would be annoying, it probably doesn't keep you up as night questioning your identity, right? Because a lot of you aren't plumbers, you're coaches, right? And so your entire professional promise is I help people transform their lives, right? I help people maybe create, grow their business or grow their instinct, right? That's your entire professional promise. And the thing you built to demonstrate that promise, it ain't working no more, right? Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And so then that inner voice starts. Maybe I'm a good coach. Maybe I'm not a good business owner. Man, maybe people just know something I don't know. Now, let me tell you something. If any of those feelings, you've had any of those conversations, let me tell you that voice is wrong. And that's why we're here today. And I don't just mean the voice is wrong in that like believe in yourself type way. That's not what I'm talking about, right? I mean it's wrong because it's answering the wrong question. And I've watched dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of coaches in your exact same position, exact same revenue range, with the exact same exhaustion, with the same voice in their head. And so that's why we're going to dive into this. Because what you need is to rebuild from the structure out. All right. So let's start. Let's kind of dive into here, right? If you got something to write down with, I want you to grab a sheet of paper and I want you guys to draw on a sheet of paper because most of you guys have built a building that looks something like at the base, you're the foundation, right? You're the walls. Here, I'm just gonna build this real quick. I'm gonna draw this on the board and then we go. So right here is you. Here, let's go to the iPad. Right? So this is what a lot of y'all have built. Right here is you. And so that's the foundation. And then these walls, right? That's you. At the top, that's you. Which y'all think is coming next, right? You, right? Now, even some of you say, no, no. I've got employees, I've got BAs and stuff, right? No, no, I understand you may have people working for you because you scaled, right? But the business structure, right? The architecture of your business looks like that, right? Like if you think of your business as as a physical structure, that's what you're building like. The walls, you're the roof, you're the plumbing, you're the wiring, you're the front door. You are everything in the building. And if you were to leave, the building closes. And let me tell you something. This is what most of us build for ourselves. And if you're in a situation right now where you say, man, I'm not doing a whole lot of money in my business right now, and you think that's the worst thing in the world, let me tell you, that's not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world is having a business that is generating a lot of revenue that a lot of employees are relying on paychecks for, right? But you're trapped. Right? Like the worst thing that can happen in business is not, oh, my business didn't work out. The worst thing in the world is that you build this massive 6, 7, 8 figure business, and what you really created is a is a low paying, right? High expectation, low paying job, right? Or a hobby that may or may not pay the bills this month, because that's what most of our businesses end up becoming being. Right? Am I lying? Like what you really just created is this job that you've invented for your job for yourself. A job that ain't got no benefits, ain't got no security, it ain't no cap on hours, right? And it's got a hard cap on income. Now, when you understand that there's not something wrong with you, there's a issue with the architecture of your business, how it's been architected and designed. The good thing about that, right? Because I'm not saying all this to depress you. The good thing about that is I can redesign the architecture, right? Like this is not a life sentence. It's a blueprint problem. And blueprints can be drawn. Ain't that so like, oh, I can create a new blueprint. because you didn't build this blueprint on purpose. Nobody says, you know what I want to do today? For the next year, I want to create a business where I'm the bottleneck in every process. Nobody says that. You built this because you were taught to build it. You built this because you were modeling what someone else built, right? And they all give the same blueprint. And so what we're going to spend some time doing, right, is we're going to create a new blueprint today, right? So let me let me before we dive into the new blueprint, let's talk about what exactly is broken in the current blueprint, right? And this is something that you guys are gonna have to do in your business to figure out, right? So I want you guys to think about your best client. If you think about your best client, right, the one who gets the best results, the one who would send referrals to you in a heartbeat, it's your favorite person to work with, right? Think of that person. Now, my question to you is, how did that person find you, right? Now, if you're like most people, your best clients, right? Not where you get clients from in general, but your best clients a lot of times, usually they come from either a referral, some sort of personal connection you had, maybe of somebody who stumbled on a piece of your content. The other category of that could be somebody who maybe they did one of your one like a workshop, something like organic, right? Now, the issue with all of those things is you couldn't repeat that tomorrow if you tried, right? Like you cannot tomorrow repeat and replicate that to get someone similar, if not better, than that best client you're thinking of, right? So keep that in mind. Now I want you to think about the last time, and maybe it's right now. I want you to think about the last time that money got tight. The last time you was like, ooh, we need a cash boost, right? Like I need cash right now. We need clients right now. When you thought that, what did you do? What were the steps? Okay, that's the reality. What are the steps you did? Well, if you're like most people I talk to, you did what? You posted more, you sent some more DMs, maybe you reached out to some old clients, right? This is a big one. You offered some sort of discount on existing programs, products, or services. Maybe you tried to get yourself on a podcast, right? You hustled. Now, with that hustling, and by the way, one of the reasons you did this is because uh, a lot of times it works, right? Let's say 50-50, it works, right? Sort of. Like you did that, a client or two came in, and you said, whew, okay, right? The pressure eased off a little bit. But then a few weeks later, or a few months later, what? Same pressure, same scramble. It's just a hamster wheel with a paycheck attached. So here's what's interesting about that framework. The best clients came from things you can't repeat on demand. But your strategy under pressure is a handful of random actions and a prayer. And I'm all for prayer, right? But the prayer can't only be when I need to do this random actions for some income real quick, right? Because what does that actually tell me about my business's ability to actually acquire clients if I have to do that? Well, it tells me there's no system, right? There's no structure. It's a talented person doing random acts of effort, right? Because effort will take you to a certain place. And so you're doing these random acts with effort, and you're hoping the math works out. And that's a blueprint problem. And it's not just client acquisition either, right? I use client acquisition because maybe some of you guys are sitting there right now and you say, well, I don't have a client acquisition problem. We do pretty good, right? Well, it's not always a client acquisition problem. I'm using the client acquisition as an example because it's the most obvious gap. But um, okay, so I want you to think about this, right? And as I'm saying these, I want you to check each one of these against your business as we go, because I'm gonna walk you through the rest of these examples I have written down here, right? When somebody first hears about you, right? Maybe they see a post, maybe you got on a podcast, right? They're a referral. What happens next? That's what I want you to think about. Somebody finds out about you, what happens next? Is there something in your business that automatically, right? I've now found out about you. Again, doesn't matter, podcast, referral, right? I found out about you. Is there something in your business that automatically, what word did I say? Automatically starts to build trust with that person? These are questions you should write down for yourself because your answers to these questions are revealing gaps in your architecture, in your foundation, right? Is there something that builds trust with them automatically, something that educates them on your point of view, your philosophy? Is there something that automatically shows them that you understand their situation, their current reality better than they understand their current reality? Is there something automatically that moves them from, oh, who's this? This person's interesting, right? Because that's how we usually come across people. Oh, that was interesting, oh, right? Is there something automatic that moves them from that to, oh my gosh, this person gets me? Like, yes, where have you been without you being in the room? Because see, some of you guys are thinking right now, oh yeah, I have that. We do that during my challenge. Oh yeah, I have that. We do it during my webinar. But I said without you being in the room, right? Because if I always have to be in the room for all of those things, that brings us back to our picture, right? That we created that architecture of what? Of I'm the walls, I'm the foundation, I'm the wiring, I'm the door, I'm the window, right? I'm all these things. Think about that for a second, right? Or let me ask you this. This is another bottleneck. Does every person who finds you have to get on a call with you or salesperson cold? Because some of you guys are, well, we got a book a call funnel, we got a VSL funnel, right? Right? You have all these things, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these things. I'm trying to help you. You're auditing your business right now. So you have this VSL, you have some type of funnel, some book a call funnel, and so I find out, I see your ad, I say, oh, that's kind of interesting. I book a call, and now I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to your salesperson cold, which means what? It means I'm starting from zero, which means you have to do what? It means you have to prove yourself from scratch. Which is why most times you go on these sales calls and you or the salesperson is on the sales call just hoping what? Hoping they say yes, right? Here's another one. When you do all that and you finally do work with clients and they get an incredible result, what happens to that value, right? Does it stay locked inside of those individual coaching sessions? Or does your business have a way to deliver your expertise that isn't capped by your personal hours? Because a lot of people have coaching businesses, and the reason they can't imagine that business scaling or they feel trapped is because they're capped at how many hours they can deliver, right? Because it's attached to your person in that coaching business. This is usually where people go, well, now do group coaching. Okay, so then you do group coaching, but you're still what? Capped. Because you can't help everybody at the same time. So then you say, well, then there's only so many people, right? But also, now you've got this coaching program. And let's say you're consistently enrolling people. So now you're just in perpetuity doing these coaching calls every week, every other week. Y'all stop me when I'm lying now, right? And you're like, man, I can't even take a break. Because if I, miss a call, try to go on vacation, just take a breath. Forget a vacation. If I just want to say, hey, I don't want to do no calls today, right? Like that's not something I want to do today. I don't want to have to do this. I didn't build this thing for me to have to always have to do something. Now people mad, they won't refund, like, right? So then what do people do? Then they hire coaches, which just ends up eating into your profit margins, usually also lowers the quality of your program. So now you got margins on the sales call because you got salespeople. So let's say you got a $5,000 thing. And so let's say you're paying, 10, 20% in commissions there, because a good closer is going to want like 20%. So you got $1,000 off the top. That's not even counting. We're not even going to count what it actually costs you to acquire them from your ads. But let's say if you're doing really well, let's say that costs you another $1,000. Not to generate the lead, like the total amount it usually costs until someone pays, right? Let's just say it's $1,000. So $1,000 in commissions, $1,000 to acquire them. I'm at $3,000 left. But now because I have a good scaling seven-figure business, right? Now I got to hire coaches, got to pay my coaches, right? Which usually there's all types of bad ways that people what that could be a whole nother lesson that I could set you guys up on how to hire people, when to hire people, how to hire people, and how to pay the people you hire so that you don't do two things. One, either handicap your business, or two, set your business up to be cannibalized by the coaches that you hired. Because that's what happens to a lot of people, regardless of your non-compete agreements and all that. That could be a whole nother lesson, right? Like if you took all of next month off, what would happen to your business? What would happen to your income? That's the question. Now, here's the last one. When somebody is interested, right? So we're talking about these scenarios, right? When people find you, when you do work with somebody, right? When somebody's interested, when they do see your content, when they feel that connection and they're thinking, man, this may be the person for me. What is the path for that person to go from interested to committed from their point of view? Like I know in our heads we go, oh well, depending on maybe what month it is or what promotions or what events you're doing, right? You say, well, right, when someone, but let's just say somebody comes across you to say, wow, I think this is the person for me. Is it clear to that person what their pathway is? Is it simple for them to take that pathway? See, all these little gaps cost you money. They cost you time. They cost you energy. They cost you effort, and they compound. Is this making sense? And so, like, your process, if you have one for that person to do that, here's another question. Does that process itself make that person more confident in you? Or does it feel like, because it's something people never think about a lot of times, or does it feel like a sales call, right? Have you ever been excited ever to get on a sales call? That's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother training for another day, right? Like, oh, I gotta get on this sales call where one of us, right, is gonna be essentially performing this song and dance and evaluating the other. Is that the only pathway? These are the real-time audits you should be doing in your business. You should be asking yourself these questions. You should be writing out if there is no process, writing out if there is a process, what that process looks like. Does it create those feelings? What are the gaps? Right? This is a real-time audit of your business. And if you do that real-time audit, right, if you kind of even in mentally with the paper we're doing that as I was going through, I bet that most of you found the same thing. What's that? One of these areas probably needs working on, right? Because one, if not most of those areas, are barely held together at all. And a lot of them are fueled solely by your personal effort, your attention or focus that you can put on that time at that time, right? The rest are just gaps. And it's not because you necessarily missed something. It's because the blueprint never touched them. Like when you were laying out and they said, hey, start this business, that's just not how things were set up, right? And the blueprint never included them, right? Now, each one of those gaps, the feelings you felt in those, each one of those has a name, okay? And every business that stands and operates and moves and grows and transforms without the founder being in every room, or because there's nothing wrong, I'm not saying you have to have this massive company with all these employees. Even if you're going to have a small operation, it is going to be just you. do those things still exist, and can your business do those things even without you, right? Maybe through systems or automations or AI, right? But the businesses that are able to do that, they have four structural elements, and I'm gonna give them to y'all, right? How many? Four. I call these four elements the four walls, and you've already felt the ones you're missing, right? So here's wall number one for your notes. Write down. Wall number one. Wall number one is a system. Keyword there is a system. A system means that it's duplicatable, it's repeatable, it's predictable. So it's not, do we have some steps? Is there something that happens that we do there? It's, do we have a system, right? McDonald's has a system. If you go to a McDonald's in California, go to a McDonald's in Texas, go to a McDonald's in China, it don't matter, in Canada, wherever you go to a McDonald's, if you go to a McDonald's, the system, your experience is going to be almost the exact same. Why? Because the McDonald's are running a system. Mr. McDonald, he long gone, right? You don't have to physically be there for this thing to operate. Why? Because we have a system. And that system is predictable, it's repeatable, right? It's duplicatable. So, and those are three different words. It's not just like, if there's something that you do, and this is a lot of y'all, but you go, oh, I can't hand this off to a VA or somebody because like they can't do it how I do. If you can't duplicate the exact same result and experience, then whatever that system is that you think you have is not a real system because it's not duplicatable. I can't duplicate it. I'm the only one that can do that. And you wear that like a badge. So it's not duplicatable, including your teaching it, your teaching of your methodology. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. I'm getting so many additional training ideas for you guys as I'm doing this, right? So is it duplicatable? That's one. Is it repeatable? Well, let's say that it can be duplicated. This series of steps or moves that we do, someone else can do it, but the result is not repeatable. What's that mean? That means if we do it 10 times and the result happens only 6 or 7 out of the 10 times, it's not repeatable. 5 times, 4 times, right? Whatever the number is, if it's not 10 out of 10, it's not repeatable, right? Again, go back to the McDonald's example. They don't go and say, well, these fries just did not turn out right this time, right? That's not how it happens. Why? Because their system's duplicatable, but it's also repeatable, which means, yes, we've duplicated this. I don't have to physically be there, but the person who's now doing it, they can produce the same result and transformation over and over and over and over again. So it's repeatable. But then you also need it for it to truly be a system, right? Because this is wall one, a system that reaches new people. That's what you need. And specifically, you need a system that reaches new people without requiring daily effort from you. So for your notes, that's what you should be writing down. I need a system that reaches new people without requiring a daily effort from me. So it's got to be predictable, it's got to be repeatable. I'm sorry, it's got to be duplicatable, it's got to be repeatable, but it's got to be predictable. What's that mean? It means that not only is the result produced every time, I can predict when, how, right? Like again, going back to McDonald's, they know they have times, right? I'm not sure if any of y'all ever worked in like a fast food. Doesn't matter if it's like um, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Starbucks, right? Tim Hortons. I used to work at Tim Hortons back in high school, right? You have these timers, right? They track in time how long your drive-through line is, how long the cars are waiting, and all that stuff, right? And we have times, right? But why? Because there's a system that you're following on how to make everything. And all of those things should take a certain amount of times, and you combine that to be able to predict how many cars you should be able to get through, right? In a rush, how many sales that should be able to do, right? These are your KPIs. And that's another thing, that issue that people have when they hire people is you're hiring people and they're doing stuff, but you can't really hold them accountable because you don't have any KPIs because the system is not duplicatable, repeatable, or predictable. And so without that, how can I hold you to the standard? And so what you really have is a bunch of people that you're paying. Uh-oh. See, I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings, right? Can I be honest with y'all? A lot of the coaches that I come across, and I'm thinking of people I've actually worked with just in this past year, you have people who work for you. They say, oh, they're my VA, my X, Y, and Z, my coaches, right? And you say they work for you, but you really work for them. You say, what you talking about? Well, because you don't have a system that is duplicatable, repeatable, um, predictable. You now have this person, there is this gap, and you just got this person to fill it. And so now an entire product line, an entire transformation line, an entire result, an entire category of your business relies on this person who ended up creating the system, some system. Now, it may not be the best system, but it's some system because they're doing it. You don't even halfway know anything about it, how to do it. You say, oh, no, my so and so handles that. Oh, I don't touch it. You don't know how to do anything. And so if that person were to leave, to get sick, to stop, you are completely screwed. That seems normal in the coaching world. Go back to McDonald's. If you get sick and you don't come in, they don't really care. It's not that deep. Why? We have a system. It's predictable, it's repeatable, it's producible. They can pretty much grab any person off the street and just plug them right in. That is how you know you have a system. Is this making sense? That give you a definition, like it's the grading rubric for what a system should look like in my business. So wall number one is a system that reaches new people without requiring your daily effort. Not posting and hoping. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with posting. It's that even within that, most people don't have a system. You don't have a system to create the content. You don't have a system to edit the content. You don't have a system to share and broadcast the content. There's no predictability, duplicate, nothing, right? So you're posting and then you're hoping, and that's sporadic. The right people. A lot of people are creating content. So I got to create content today. That's another lesson I could go over. How do I create content for the right people? Who's the right people? Because your right people, a lot of people say, oh, I have this avatar. I help women do so and so in such and such in 80 days. Okay. Be doing is with inside that avatar, there are psychographic profiles, at least 3 to 5, of groups of individuals, right? These psychographic profiles that are on this scale of intent to buy. And if I'm creating content, I need to know this content that I'm creating, not is it for this avatar? Which psychographic profile in this avatar is this for? Is this piece of content for the people who are right there, high enough to buy right now? Is this piece of content for people who are on the lower end, but it's moving into the middle? Most people have no idea, right? So the right people, we have a system for that content, whether I show up or not. Hmm? Here's wall number two. Wall number two is a mechanism. Do I have a mechanism before, what word did I say? Before the conversation. So before whatever your sales conversation is, do you have anything in place that builds trust before you have the sales conversation? Why? So that by time somebody talks to you, they already believe that you understand their world. And they don't believe it because you sold them on it, but because the architecture, how you've architecture and structured, in this case, the presentation, the things, the funnel that they saw before, the ad they saw before, what they're saying in between, what they see while they're waiting for the event to start, right? What they saw during, like all those things in that example, because the architecture did the work. Wall number three, do you have a way to deliver your expertise, right, beyond your personal hours? This is game changer. And I can't even, there's some things that we're working on right now that I can't even share with you guys. But I just recently had this revelation, and there's some things that came together. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so cool that every coach on the planet is going to be able to use working on. right? Like my kids could still be using this thing and profiting off of me, my mental, right? My methodology, my IP to deliver my expertise well beyond my existence on this planet. And I'm not just talking, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, ooh, like an AI clone. Um, there's something way more valuable than that, but that's a start, right? Why is that important? You need a way to be able to deliver your expertise beyond your personal hours because you need something that breaks the equation of 1 hour of my time equals this. Because see, entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches, they say they have this job, but they're still just getting paid hourly. And if they really do the math, all the work that they're doing, they're probably getting paid less hourly than they were than at the job they used to work. Wall number four, do you have a path for someone to go from interested to committed that feels like service, not a performance? This is going to be more important than ever as the rise of AI happens and people start automating and they take the humanity out of everything. This is going to be so important. Do you have something that takes this person that feels like service, not a performance, a buying process that makes people more confident, not less confident? Not when they roll their eyes like, oh, now you're gonna say, all right, get on this thing. Now, again, most of us, if we're honest, we just realize we're missing those walls, right? 20K, 40K, 400K, right? That's what's so important about this. It doesn't matter where your business is capped at. It's one of these audits, it's one of these walls where, hey, we may have something that we do duplicatable stat that does not require me or, right? Or what? Or this employee of mine that if they were to get sick or leave or get poached or start their own thing, we're screwed, right? Okay. Um, So again, most of us are running a business inside of a building that doesn't have all four walls. Now, could you imagine living in a house? Would you stay living in a house that doesn't have all four walls, right? It's like, well, yeah, that wall out there is out. Like, no, why? Because that means it can collapse on me at any time. And most of you are running a business right now that could collapse on you at any time. And what a way to live. That is a scary way to live. I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday. He said, "Yeah, well, a couple years ago we were it was doing about 80 to 120K a month, but then this change happened on this platform, and it's just been slowly since there." So they're talking back and forth with it, and they said, "Yeah, it's been, whew, right? It's been I can't remember exactly word, it's scary or something over here, right? Yeah, what a way to live. It's a hard way to live. Scrambling, always under pressure. Okay. Um, so that ceiling, right? The ceiling in your business, it's never about how good you are. This has nothing to do with whether you're good at producing results. You're already good. How do I know that? You have clients. If you have people that have paid you money that you've gotten results for, you're good. Why? Because most people can't produce a result for themselves, let alone somebody else. So you're already good. The cap, the ceiling you're hitting is just about the design of the business. And now, the reason I took you guys to that audit, because when you see your business clearly enough, that's when you can identify clearly what's broken, right? Okay. So here we're at now, right? So some of y'all came here and you're thinking, yeah, I came here to figure out because I'm thinking like I'm broken. And maybe you think, hey, I needed another strategy, or maybe I need another tactic, or I just need a motivation boost. I just need a little push today, right? But what we've talked about is something different. And the question you've been asking is, how do I work harder inside of this framework, right? But that's not the question anymore. right? The new question is, how do I rebuild this architecture so that every step, right? Now, if you guys want some help with this, what I would do is you can take these things, these walls, that questions that you should have been on, and to help yourself out if you're having trouble, but throw it in ChatGPT. Tell ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, whatever you use, tell it what your business is and ask it, give it this audit, and then ask it, hey, what are all the steps and gaps and like in each one of these walls and processes, right, that I'm sharing with you, so you can actually visually see all of the process, everything that is missing. Why? Well, because you can't really start fixing something unless you know exactly what to fix. And so I gave you guys that audit so you can do it in your own business, but then you can start creating something. And let me tell you, a whole lot of something is better than nothing. Now, my goal today was okay, so I'm trying to walk you guys through and have a mindset shift that it's about these gaps, right? It's about the structure that I've built because I've built my business on this blueprint that has this ceiling baked in, and to help you guys identify the walls in your actual business, right? So that you can ask yourself a new question. How do I rebuild the architecture? Now, I personally, I have very specific and particular opinions about what that architecture should look like. But this really isn't the place for me to tell them because within that those very specific opinions, how that's applied or adapted will look different based upon not just what business or niche you're in, but what you want out of your business. Remember earlier I was saying, hey, look, some of you guys are like, oh, I need a team. I got a team of 5, a team of 8, a team of 15, team of 30, right? I had one guy I was working with. His payroll every month was like um, almost 100K. I said, what on God's green earth? It's just coach. Could you possibly be paying for and pay for 100K? I'm like, what do these people do? We audited. I mean, 80% of them didn't even need to be there. He's doing really big months, but like he was doing significantly more revenue than he had the year before, but he personally was making less and had less time. Right. So on paper, it looks like, oh, the business is growing, but it was inflated and all these things. Right. So like I had an idea of an archer, but it's like, what does he want? Because some people want that massive thing. Some people say, I'm very cool with an intimate, right? Some people say, I don't want to manage or have no people. I just want to have something that can be run by me, but I don't want to solely rely on me waking up and having to get on the treadmill today to fuel and run this thing. And so that architecture looks different. And that's one of the things that, like, when I'm consulting businesses one on one, we're helping to figure, okay, how do we take these principles from this architecture that I have very specific opinions on that I've seen work very well? How do we apply that to create a strategy that will shield your weaknesses while highlighting your strengths so that we can produce tactics, what to do? See, tactics are what to do, strategy is when and why to do, and principles are the laws that govern, right? So that you can create these tactics so that you know what to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to have that predictability and that like that you want so that your business serves you at a high level, because it's not about having a business that looks like mine or anybody else's. It's what do you want? Do you want to have a business where you travel? Do you want to have a business where you sit around all day with your family? Like, do you want to have a business? Some people can't stand it. They're like, oh my gosh, I need to be moving all the time, right? It's whatever you want, but within this architecture you can make that happen. So I'm not here to tell you guys exactly this one architecture because that'd be more of the same. And if anybody ever wants to work one on one and say, hey, this is making sense, I'd really love to sit down and figure out what that looks like for me. I helped identify my gaps. I'd love to do that, right? You guys can reach out to me. We could do that. But that's not generally what today was about. Today was about giving you the eyes to see the building, and now you can see it. And here's what I want you guys to take with you guys. I want to take you one thought. Never forget. See, as an entrepreneur, your belief about yourself is the thing that fuels everything. So you cannot afford, literally, you cannot afford to start believing the whispering that you're a failed business owner. You cannot forget that you are a skilled professional. You're very skilled. Like I just told you. I said, I know you're good. You say, how do I know I'm good? Because if you produce a result for yourself, you are way better and beyond than most people on the planet. If you're able to produce a result, not just for yourself, but you're able to turn around and produce that result for somebody else, help somebody else produce that result, and you're able to do that many times over, you are now in the top. Most people cannot produce results for themselves, let alone other people. So I know you're good, you're skilled. The problem is you've just followed a blueprint, right? It's the blind leading the blind. So you followed a blueprint that has a ceiling and you've just hit that ceiling. And that's okay. Because now that you've seen it, you can create a new structure, a new blueprint. Because that ceiling is not about you. It has nothing to do with you, how good you are, and your ability. It has nothing to do with you. And you can rebuild it. That's the shift. You don't have to work harder. You don't got to fix yourself. Like, you don't need more strategy necessarily, right? You just need new architecture. And with this audit, now you can see exactly where, right? So here's some homework for you guys. I want you guys, if you didn't do your audit live, I want you to do that audit tonight, okay? Because some of you guys are going to start looking at your business differently. You're going to look at your employees differently. You're going to look at how you're paying those employees differently. And some of you guys are going to start asking different questions. And I'll tell you that when you start asking new and different questions, you start getting new and different answers. And new questions create new realities. And that's all you need. And that's what today is about. If y'all want to or have something that you want me to cover, make sure you put it in the comments below. Send us an email. Again, we're doing these weekly, these micro lessons. Sometimes it'll be 30 minutes, sometimes it'll be an hour. But I have this list of roadblocks that I've seen entrepreneurs hit over and over again. And so I just have a list of them and I pick one each week and I create a little lesson off of them. And so I'm doing this weeklies on Wednesdays. And so if you love this, if there's something you want me to cover, put it in the comments. Subscribe so that you come back. And so we keep doing them, right? As long as I see you guys are interested, I'll keep doing them. I don't care. Send me an email if you got topics, whatever it may be. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And don't forget to make the rest of your life the best of your life. I'll see y'all next week.
I took what you said, totally revamped what I was doing. Didn't have to get on a sales call. That was my first time ever, so that was super cool.
I paid him about a year ago to teach me one strategy, how to close without a sales call, phoneless selling. And since then, everything has just taken off. We did 65K in a week, and me and my business partner are now pacing between $100,000 and $150,000 for this month, which is just insanity.
Other coaches that are talking about phoneless sales, but I look at their business and I'm like, do I really want to have this business? They're on social media all the time. They're doing training after training. They have 5,000 courses. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so you're proving that you don't have to have that business model. You don't have to do sales calls. You can really be leveraged.
And I am coming off of my highest month ever. Sales in both contracted and cash collected. So specifically, I added over $100,000 in new sales. I didn't have to go through all these one-on-one calls. I didn't have to do any of that, which takes a lot of time. You know, a lot of people say no. I didn't do any of that. No phone calls. We sold to everyone in a group. Boom.
I used it. I made $50,000 in less than 24 hours. I've never made that much money in a day. I mean, I've had very successful businesses, but I've never made that much so easily in a day.
You follow his steps and you do exactly what he tells you to do and how he tells you to do it, and success.